Welcome to Empowering the Next Generation podcast. I am Helen Veru. This podcast is dedicated to help anyone connected to preteens and teens to give them tools, empower and inspire teachers, high school senior leaders, and parents to build the future leaders of tomorrow. We discuss about controversial and relevant topics related to the world of education, the main problems you are facing, and solutions to help you navigate your journey. We want to make a positive change in education by bringing on experts that will give you a different perspective on how you can solve the hardship you are facing today. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Empowering the Next Generation podcast with me, Coach Helen. I am so glad that you're here with us again for another episode. We have an amazing guest speaker. You know that I bring la crème de la crème for you in this episode because we want to ignite education, develop leaders, and create meaningful connections. And if you want to go into that journey, really be led to be paid for your expertise, I would encourage you to join my free Facebook community so you could actually learn how to develop a CEO mindset. So today, let's talk about Cedrick LaFleur. He's a 12 times visionary author, business leader, and a speaker with over 37 years of experience in healthcare, sales, and leaderships. As chief executive of the LaFleur Leadership Institute, he develops leaders through coaching, speaking, and organizational training. His work focuses on helping people recognize what's real, require what matters, and move with clarity, discipline, and alignment. So today the title is about leading with clarity, connection, discipline, and what really matters. So thank you so much, Cedrick, for being with us.
Well, great morning, and thank you for having me.
I love your work. I love the fact that you really lead by example. I have seen the work that you do on social media, and I love your dedication because you're a 12 time. That's a lot. 12-time author. So you are like by far an author in everything that you've learned. You created something tangible and a message that people can actually see. So thank you so much for that dedication and that discipline because you are creating in your life clarity, connection, discipline, and with over 37 years of experience in leadership and sales. Okay, you've worked with people across many industries. What are some of the biggest leadership lessons that you have that have stood up for you in time of test?
Well, I think the biggest leadership lesson to me is really based around three core things. One, um, people have to trust you because they're going to ask, can I trust you? Right. The next thing is clarity. As a leader, you have to communicate with clarity. And number three is consistency. Right? Those are things that every person is going to ask of their leader. Can I trust you? Is my leader clear? And is my leader consistent? See, people don't follow titles, they follow trust. And you can have authority, but if people don't trust you and trust your intentions or your consistency, they're not going to comply with you. They're not going to be their best for you. They're not going to commit to you. Next thing is
I,
just clarity, right?
I
Um,
totally agree with you.
yeah,
Because even
clarity.
in, sorry,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Yeah.
I
No,
was
I
just going to
wanted to say
say
in,
clarity beats charisma. I'm sorry.
it's fine. I like authenticity. So just talk and then I will talk.
I was going to say clarity beats charisma, right? Think about this, right? Have you ever seen these charismatic leaders, but they lose their team because no one really understood what mattered? And so you can be impressive. It's not about being impressive. It's about being clear because people need clarity or they can't execute. And then the last thing I'll say, and then I'll be quiet, and that's around the consistency part. Consistency beats credibility. Leadership isn't proven in big moments. It's proven in your daily standards. It's proven in what you allow, what you reinforce, and how you show up. People are always taking notes, so you got to be careful.
I totally agree with you because even in education nowadays, uh, people will go above and beyond. Not only in education, I think in any institution, people will go above and beyond just because of trust. And I don't know if you know about John Maxwell. I'm a John Maxwell certified coach, and he talked about the power, the law of trust. And it's so interesting because trust doesn't goes with connection. Once you trust someone, as you were saying, they actually the connection is there because they know that they will do anything to serve your vision, to serve what you're doing. And
Yes.
I love that because it's all come from the heart. It's nothing it's all come from your desire to make a difference and your desire to serve your community. So I definitely love what you're saying. So talk about your book. I think we just had this introduction
Hmm.
recently about your book, okay? Because you moved from sales and really working in education, having a heart to write a book in education. How did that start? And just share your message. What is your book talking about in a few nuggets?
Yeah. So, I spent 30 years in healthcare. I'm a clinical scientist by degree and certification. And I spent 22 years running part of the sales organization for the second largest pharmaceutical company in the world. And when I retired, I started a leadership development company. And along my journey, people said, you should write a book. And I had no interest in writing a book. Well, let me tell you what, I decided to write a book. My first book was called The Blueprint for Manager Success. Well,
Mhm.
after that, then I got a book deal to write 30 books, right? So I've written 12 so far. And the book that you're referring to is this book right here. It's called The 12 Laws of Communication: How K-12 Leaders Build Clarity, Trust, and Execution in Schools. So it's specifically designed for educators. Now, I have a team that did a lot of research around communication issues and problems in schools and how to solve those. So with this book, what we put together is these 12 communication laws. The very first law is the law of clarity. I talked about it a little bit earlier, right? The law of clarity says leaders don't confuse, they clarify. And with each one of these laws, we actually help educators understand one, we start at superintendent level, how the superintendent can connect better with its cabinet and principals, how principals can connect better with teachers, how teachers can connect better with students. And in the book, we put in real tools that teachers can use every single day in their classroom, principals can use every single day in the building. Okay. Now, we didn't only just do our research here. I also, before we published the book, I had teachers who are in the classroom today, principals who are in buildings today, and assistant principals. I had them to review the 12 laws and each chapter, because research is one thing, but teachers are going to believe when they hear other teachers or other educators say this, right? So we had them to confirm for us, and we tweaked where we needed to the tools that we put in here and the principles that we put in the book, right? So we are the book just came out about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. So we are working with superintendents around the country in the U.S. to implement this leadership communication operating system. So
I
it's
love
not
that.
something that they do one time. It's something that they practice every single day in a classroom. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And I feel that um, you talk about what's real and what really matters in your book. So, what does it look like in practice for leaders who feel overwhelmed or pulled in too many directions?
Yeah, for me, it comes down to two things. You got to recognize what's real, and then require what matters. Now, most leaders struggle with both of those. That's in education. That's also in the corporate world, because we wrote this exact same book for corporate America. It's a different book, but the same principles. So recognizing what's real means stop managing based on assumptions and start dealing with what actually happening. See, that could mean that performance issues, misalignment of your team, or even a lack of clarity. Being overwhelmed doesn't come from volume, it comes from avoidance. So if leaders don't face what's real, they end up reacting to everything instead of leading anything. Now, for educators that are listening, think about your school, think about your leader or leaders that you work for who just react to everything, right? Does that provide you confidence or does that just cause more confusion, right? Think about that, right? So I tell leaders to slow down just enough to ask three questions. What's working? What's not working? And what actually matters right now? Because when they don't answer, if when they don't answer those questions, everything starts to feel urgent. Teachers can't operate successfully in their classrooms when everything is urgent, when everything has to be done right now. Well, they just the here's what happens to the experienced educator, because I've seen it in classrooms. They just say, you know what, I'm not going to deal with that because that's going to change. That's just flavor of the month. And then they get frustrated. The new teacher, because they don't know, they start changing their plans and their schedule and all of this type of stuff, and come to find out that it's going to change. And that's because they're living in an environment where everything's feels urgent, right? So once they can clarify that, then they can move to what really matters, right? If they never clarify that, then what really matters never comes into focus. So this is when discipline comes in. This is when they can decide what's their non-negotiable and what they need to actually do. So in practice, and I'll wrap this up, in practice, it might look like setting clear expectations, addressing issues as they arise rather than letting them slide, protecting your time for priorities. And when you do these things get simplified. You start operating with more consistency and with clarity for your team.
I love it. And I feel as well that when you talk about clarity and you talk about vision, I feel like many principals or head teachers don't really know the vision that they have for the schools. And sometimes are not that they don't really articulate clearly what they want to be done in school. And because they don't know exactly the vision, and also the educators, the teachers don't even know their vision themselves, they can't, so there is no merging, there is no connection in the vision that the head teacher is wants to share and the vision, the personal vision of the teacher. So it's that's why alignment is so key. This is why when you talk about clarity, discipline, that's why it comes into place. And I feel it's important that we bring coaching into school, not just talking and having speaking engagement, motivational speakers coming into school, but really bringing the culture of coaching. Because when you coach a teacher, when you coach a principal, when you coach them to really see the value in themselves and see the value in the vision, they can actually understand how they can serve better each other. So I feel it's very important. So you say that it's important to communicate with students, not at students. So how can leaders, especially in education, shift their communication style to build stronger trust and engagement?
Yeah. So for me, um, the idea of communicating with a student is talking with them, being connected with them, building trust. So it's not a posture, it's a technique. And you have to, anyone that wants to communicate with anyone, student or non-student, they have to develop great communication technique. So when you communicate at a person, you're operating from authority. When you're trying to, this is when you're trying to control behavior, you tell them what to do, you correct them, and you move on. But see, when you're communicating with someone, you're focused on engagement. You're trying to influence how they think, how they process, and ultimately how they show up. That shift changes everything. So in practice, what it means is um, we have to ask more questions than we assume. So even when you see a student doing something, don't just jump in telling them things because they're not going to hear it. You start with questions. You don't just give instructions, you lead with a question. I'm gonna say that again because I want that person far away from me to hear it. You don't just give instructions, you ask questions like, what are you seeing? What's getting in the way? See, it means that you're checking for understanding. We tell teachers all the time in teaching, right? We have to check for understanding. Well, even when we're trying to get them to stop doing something, we have to check for understanding instead of assuming. Just because you said it clearly doesn't mean they heard it the way that you said it, right? Everybody hears totally different. And when I go into schools, I actually put teachers through an exercise so it makes it crystal clear that I gave everybody the exact same instructions and everyone in the room did something totally different, right?
Mm.
So it means that we have to adjust a little bit. It's not just landing. You don't blame the audience, you take responsibility for the delivery. You see, when you're speaking with someone. So a lot of leaders in education default is talking more when things are not working. But more talking doesn't create more understanding. It usually creates more noise. So at the end of the day, communication is how you build connection, and connection is what um, gives your words weight. So let me give you an example here, right? If you and I were in a room and there's two other people with us, right? And I told you guys to fold this sheet of paper, right? But if I said fold the paper, somebody's going to fold it hamburger style, somebody's going to fold it hot dog style. You see, I gave the same instructions, but y'all did something totally different. So this is why we have to connect with people, check for understanding first before we start just giving instructions to do this, do this, do this, and this, right? All along the way. And that's what we do in the book, right? We give teachers tools and we give them actual words to say, not just here's a tool. Here's what you say when you're using this tool. Here's how you communicate with the person, and especially students of today. You see, when I grew up, if you were my teacher and you said do something, I was going to do it. And I may ask a question later. I'm going to raise my hand and ask a question. Students of today are not that way, right? We have to connect with them on a different level than we did in the past. And be honest with you, I like it now because it shows that they are a human being first, and not just a child and to be in your classroom. It's about connecting. You connect with the students that you love. Let's say your AB honor roll students, right? You connect with them because you love them because they always do everything right. What about Charles sitting in the back room over there who always gets things wrong? How are you going to connect with that person? That's the sign. That's that showed the sign of a great teacher if they can connect with that person.
I agree with you. And for me, when I was talking to you about wise leadership, I think people tend to to forget that connection is really connecting to yourself first. And I think many people don't even connect with themselves. How can you connect with other people if you don't even connect with yourself? And as you were sharing, the art of communication is an exchange, and it's not just something that you do, it's something that you experience. And I feel like to be able to reach that level, I talk about wholeness. And I think it's something that is missing in school big time. Like the healing part of the person to be able to address this. And I feel this is why you wrote all these books and created you becoming a 12 times author, is because you are connecting with yourself and you've made the work for yourself. You've healed. So now you're
Yes.
able to see things that are nonverbal, and you're able to connect with those people who can't even see themselves. And I think it's the first key is really bringing wholeness and healing in your life that will definitely bring clarity and discipline and eventually allow you to be aligned with other people. And
Yeah,
you talk about
absolutely.
you talk about connection, and that is a central theme in your work. So, why does connection increase a leader's influence, and how can leaders intentionally build it in their daily interactions?
So connection increases a leader's influence because it lowers resistance. See, most people don't resist information, they resist how it's delivered and who it's coming from. See, if a person doesn't feel heard, they won't hear you, right? So
Yes.
when people feel connected to you, they stop filtering everything you say through doubt. They're more open, they're more receptive, and they're willing to act. I've seen leaders with great ideas struggle, not because the idea was bad, but because there was no connection. And what I want your audience to understand, and I want them to think about it. Think of a person you don't connect with on anything. They may be brilliant. They may have some great ideas, but because you don't connect with them, you're not hearing their message, right? Now, think of a person that you connect with, your girlfriend, your guy friend, whomever it is, right? You connect with them, you run with them. That's your road dog, right? No matter what idea they come up with, you love it. You think it's a brilliant idea. Man, that she is just sharp. He is great. He is It's because you connect with them. That idea may be a bad idea, but because you connect with them, you hear it um, with sweet roses in your ears. Okay. So connection is extremely important. And I've had average ideas gain traction because people, my level of influence with them was significant, right? Connection isn't something you wait for, it's something you build intentionally. And it shows up in how you interact every day, not just in big moments, right? So one of the things I do is when people ask me how am I doing, I respond 100% of the time, I'm always great. That's what I always say, right? Now, I want you to try this and your audience try this. Just try it. Trust me, it works. I say when they ask me how am I doing, I say I'm always great. It's intentional. People will smile. Some people will stop in their tracks and say, "Whoa, always?" And or they'll say, "I really like that." Right? Now, it doesn't, and I always say, it doesn't mean I don't have issues, I don't have concerns, I don't have, I've been married for 39 years. Of course I have issues. I'm just kidding.
I love this.
But
Nice
my
one.
point is this. Um, when you ask someone how they're doing, they typically say, "I'm all right. It's not a good day. I'm good." Some people say I'm blessed, right? My point in saying I'm always great is to influence their reaction because they don't hear this all the time. You have to intentionally connect with someone. You have to intentionally want to do something. So that's my way of intentionally connecting with someone. But they will always say, "Ooh, I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna steal that. I'm gonna use that." That is awesome. You see, we influence people, positive or negative, by our words.
I agree. And this is where people are looking for positivity. Very few people are positive nowadays. So positivity creates a sense of security. They feel that if the person can do it, I can do it too, because you're leading by example. And obviously, I feel what is missing as well is authenticity. And the fact that you're sharing this, you telling them you're always great, it doesn't mean that, as you were saying, you don't have any issues. It's just that you choose to speak good things over your life. And I
Absolutely.
think
And
this is what opens doors for you. because you have that power of faith and positivity in your life. So you
Yeah.
talk a lot about moving with
Well,
clarity,
hold on.
discipline.
Before you go to that,
Yeah,
let me say
sorry.
this. See,
Yeah.
a lot of leaders think connection takes extra time. And I want to dispel that myth. It doesn't take extra time. It just takes you being willing to be intentional, right?
Mm.
You're you're already having conversations with someone. So the question is, how are you going to show up with them? So it's not about taking time, extra time. It's just about being intentional with them. And I'm gonna tell you, connection lowers resistance. Say that with me. Connection
Connection, lower
lowers resistance,
resistance.
right? When you remember that, people will stop disagreeing with you. People will stop arguing with you. People will accept your message more when you connect with them intentionally.
I love that. This is powerful. And it's food for thoughts. And I feel as well, it comes with a love for people, and very few people don't have that love, I guess, for other people. And to be able, because sometimes you think about yourself, it's about selfishness. To connect with other people, you need to die to self and to allow other people to come in your environment. And I think it's again a heart issue. Uh, if you want to connect, it means that you have a desire to serve, a desire to make a bigger impact, a desire to love people beyond what you see. And it takes a leader who did the work and who really is aligned with who is called to be, because you have a lot of educators or even head teachers or principals who are in the job not because they want to, but for the wrong motives. And
Okay.
this is the thing that we need to start thinking. Okay, am I aligned with my purpose? Am I aligned with who I am? Am I really being fulfilled in the things that I do? And these are the questions that will actually shift the mindset of people to look for meaningful connections.
Yeah.
And
In the
I've
military, when I was in the military, we called those people road, retired on active duty. See, they show up for the paycheck. I've been here 30 years and they don't want to do anything different. They want to just do the exact same thing every day, all day, and twice on Sunday, right? Well, in order to connect with people in the building, in order to connect with students, you have to be willing to change. And change is okay. And here's how I know that people can change when they want to. I don't see most people riding around here in a horse and buggy. They all have cars with AC in them, or they have a motor vehicle. Okay. Um, I don't see, everybody has a smartphone these days, right? Well, nobody's sitting around their house with the rotary dial phone, talking on the phone. I don't see people sending up smoke signals today, right? So you can change when you want to. The key is you have to be willing to want to connect with someone. And I'm telling you, man, it just changes things.
it does.
Yeah.
It does. It does. Um, so let's talk about clarity, discipline, and alignment. Okay, so for someone trying to grow as a leader, what are the first steps to developing those qualities in a meaningful and sustainable way?
Yeah. So when I talk about clarity, discipline, and alignment, what I'm talking about is how leaders move, not just what they know. So if someone wants to grow in a meaningful, sustainable way, it starts with getting those three things in the right order. First is clarity. You have to decide what actually matters. And this is not 10 things, just 2 to 3 things, right? Because here's the reality: if your people are guessing, you're not leading, you're hoping.
Mhm.
Clarity answers questions like, what are we focused on? What does success look like? What's non negotiable? Then you move on to, once you have clarity, you move on to discipline. I call it, it's a three-step process, really. And the second step is discipline. And this is really the execution layer. So discipline is simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. It's not, it's doing what matters, whether you feel like it or not. See, discipline is, I want to be a better person, but I don't practice being a better person. Discipline is, I want to be a great athlete, but I don't want to put in the work. Discipline is, I want to change my finances, but I don't want to change how I spend. You see, when you don't rise, well, let me say it this way, you don't rise to your goals, you fall to your habits. So once you're clear, discipline becomes more focused. You're not trying to do everything, you're consistently doing the right things. And a lot of times, principals are head teachers, their buildings struggle because they're trying to get their people to do everything instead of the right things. Okay. And then the third step is alignment. And alignment is what I call the proof. Alignment is when your time, your energy, and your conversations all reflect what you said matters. See, because when your calendar and your behavior is not aligned, it's telling the truth about you. Regardless of what you say, your priorities are going to be on your calendar. And if they're not aligned with what you say, then you're not in alignment. So where most leaders struggle is that they try to jump straight to discipline. They want better habits, they want better execution, but they haven't gotten clear on what the objective is and what matters. So their discipline gets shattered, they struggle, and their results are inconsistent. When your results are inconsistent, your people see it and they're going to be inconsistent.
Wow. Wow. So, okay, I know that you talked about clarity, discipline, and alignment. So, what is the last inspirational word that you could say to any educators or any principals or school leaders watching us today about the power of clarity, discipline, and alignment? What would you tell them?
Yeah, this alignment is the evidence. It shows whether your priorities are real or just something you say. Some people put it simple. They say the proof is in the pudding. That's it right there.
I love that. So, if you are listening to what we're saying, I would encourage you to click on the link below. I will put any links that you can actually connect with Cedrick LaFleur and his Leadership Institute. And when you recognize what's real, require what matters, and move with clarity, you don't just lead. I believe that you transform everything around you. So, anyone listening, thank you so much. Make sure that you like, comment, and share. And I see you in the next episode. And if you want to grow in your expertise and monetize your expertise, I would encourage you to join my free Facebook community. I see you in the next episode, everyone. And thank you so much, Cedrick, for coming in the episode with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode, and make sure you connect with us on Instagram at The Case for Success. Check also my Linktree and become an affiliate of the Success Guide for Teens Academy, a program that will empower your school community as a parent, teacher, and high school senior leader. Do not hesitate to reach out, comment, and share. Until then, see you in the next episodes.